we're going to be joined by our next guest, who is featured all over this great set of ours. You can see him right over here. You can see him right over there. I think he might be somewhere else too. There's a couple of DCs over there. I mean, there's a whole host of figurines here, but I think that's it. He is, of course, one of the greatest fighters of all time. He is a man who I think so highly of because he's always kept it real. He's always obviously been so gracious with his time. He's always been so good to me. But as I said, when he announced his retirement a little over a month ago, I said that I have infinite amount of respect for him because he never changed. He did it his way. He didn't care about what people said or, you know, what they may have not said or promoted, not promoted. He just went out there, he did his job, and he did it in many respects better than anyone else. Number one all-time, most consecutive UFC title defenses, tied with John Jones for most UFC title defenses overall. He had 9 UFC Fight Night awards, number one for post-fight bonuses in UFC flyweight history. Of course, former one championship flyweight champion. I refer to it as bantamweight because it's 135 over there, but technically it is flyweight in one championship. And there was nothing left to prove. And now he's tackling a new challenge that is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's tackling a new challenge that is YouTubing and streaming and all that stuff and more. He's one of my favorite people that I've ever come across, not only in mixed martial arts, but in life. He's an inspiration. He's a tremendous father and husband, in addition to all those great things. And perhaps most importantly, he is the one and only Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson. Ah, look at that. Look at that. Crystal clear. Who did this? Who did this? Once over? Who's responsible for this?
I am.
Ah.
I'm responsible. But I will give Wandover credit because he did teach me. You know, he's very talented. And each time I see him do certain things, I'm always asking him questions because I think when you can set up your own studio, it's very empowering and it feels good.
Look at us. Look at us, DJ. Look at us.
Look at us.
By the
Look
way,
at us.
Why do you always look so damn good on your stream there? Is it something like your skin is just so freaking smooth and shiny? Like, what are you doing? What is the routine now these days? And the beard is always so on point.
I got to do a special stream, special shout
please.
out to Ame and Killer J. Jessica, that's my girl. She takes care of, like, you know, my skincare routine. And also my wife, she's always, you know, helping me with my skincare routine because I want to age gracefully. I want to look good when I'm like 65, 70 years old, just looking fresh, man.
You look fantastic. Dare I say you've never looked better than right now? Fair? Accurate?
I mean, if you want to say that, I mean, the beard's on point. I just had it done, so that's probably looks like really good.
You look fantastic. Much respect.
Thank
Retirement
you.
looks good on
Thank
you.
you.
And speaking of that, and of course, shout out to you, all those great interviews that you're doing, exclusives, Tony Ferguson, you're getting all these big things, and we will get to all that in a moment. But of course, I haven't talked to you because we were on our little hiatus, and you've been so supportive during the hiatus, so thank you very much. You announced your retirement in early September at that event in Denver, and they did it the right way. It was beautiful the way they did it. You got the moment, you got the stage, you got the microphone, you got the spotlight that you deserved. I am curious about the road to that point because I do remember you being in studio and everyone's at, are you done? Are you done? Are you going to walk away? And it was almost a year between fights, right? And if not more. And you said, you know, one day I learned from Eddie Alvarez, I'm going to drink coffee, I'm going to tell my wife I'm done, and that's that. So could you tell us about the embryonic stages of the decision? When did you, in fact, inform your wife or have that conversation, which then led to the announcement in September?
I can't remember when me and my wife talked about it, but it was kind of like, you know, what Eddie said. It was, we talked, me and my wife talked about it, and I was like, I think I'm done. I just feel, you know, after that fight with Adriano, the third one, I had my wife, had my kids. And I was like, okay, is this what my life is all? Is this what life is? Like, I'm relying on my body to make a living, essentially. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna give myself a year. I'm gonna try to focus on jiu-jitsu, put some muscle on, get bigger for the division, because the division in jiu-jitsu is 154. I'm not cutting weight to 141, and I gotta weigh 138 and weigh the gi. But fast forward, me and my wife talked about it. She goes, yeah, I think it's good. And my wife texts me one day, and she goes, man, it's so enjoyable to have you around the house, to see the kids, to help me take them to school, help me shuffle them around, and I just really enjoy having you at home more. And I was like, oh, well, that's all you got to say. And then I remember having lunch with Matt, and me and Matt Hume were sitting there, and that's why I love Matt, because he's such a fucking G. We're sitting there, and I was like, Matt, I think I'm done. He goes, yeah, I think it's time to call it a career too. And he goes, you made out good, baby. You made out good. I like, you made great money. You don't have any serious concussions. You're still healthy. You can still train if you want to. And that's always the goal. Like, you got out when you want to. And then, but I told him, I was like, I'm gonna give myself a year just in case I miss it, because I don't want to be one of those guys like, I'm done fighting, I'm not coming back, and next you know, hey guys, I'm coming back to fight. I don't want to be one of those cases. And everybody has their own situation. I know Aldo came back. I know Donald Cerrone's talked about him coming back as well. He wants to get 50 fights in the UFC. But for me, I'm like, I'm done. I don't miss it. I enjoy jiu-jitsu. That's feeding my competitive edge. It's keeping me healthy. It's a breath of fresh air, because my professor, Professor Jan, is very good about teaching me, and I'm trying to understand jiu-jitsu and the gi on a deeper level. And yeah, and you know, I didn't want to do the announcement in one championship, but my wife and Chatri, you know, they convinced me and showed me it's not just about you, but it's also closing that chapter with your fans. And for myself, you know, I didn't think I was gonna get to my wife. I think I was getting emotional, right? But when you're sitting there and the spotlight's on you, you see your wife, you see Matt, you see your kid, you see your, you know, your family. It was just a bunch of emotions of so many years of training in the gym, in and out, all come to a conclusion of like, I'm never fighting mixed martial arts ever again. And it was a good time. I'm very grateful that one championship gave me the opportunity to do it on that amazing platform. It was a sold out crowd in Denver. So yeah, that's how it went down, man.
Initially, if it was up to you, how did you want to announce it?
Just disappear.
Just disappear.
Just
not even a post? Not even a video?
No, I mean, it was going to be a post like, all right, boys, we out. GG's on to the next. Just because, you know, the biggest thing, I didn't want to take away from the athletes who were competing that night in Denver, right? I respect them so much that the night wasn't about me. The night was about them. You know, John Haggerty taking on Super Lake, an amazing fight. And the whole card was just stacked. I didn't want to take away from their limelight. And, you know, I've always been a guy who doesn't really search for attention of what I'm doing in my career, I guess. And I'm almost kind of shy. I don't know. But I just wanted to be like, hey, you know, I'm done. It was been an amazing road in mixed martial arts. On to the next thing. But I'm very grateful that my wife and Chatri helped me and pushed me and encouraged me to do what I did in Denver.
By the way, how long did you have to sit on this? Like, how long in between the announcement and when you actually made up your mind?
I think it was a year. Literally a year. Like, I knew after I fought Adriano the third time, I knew I was done. I was like, this is not boring, but I was like, okay, I just won again. What's next? And then there was time like when Aljo, he was a man. I was like, God, he would be a great fight. I was like, at the time, like nobody could beat Aljo. Like he was, you know, winning. And I was like, God, that fight intrigued me. I was like, man, it'll be nice to maybe fight him. Man, I grappled his ass. Whew. I'm glad I didn't fight him to get his black ass on my back. I tell you what, that motherfucker's good. But I knew for a year that I didn't want to fight, but I wanted to make sure. I just wanted to make sure. So I took that year to focus on, you know, jiu-jitsu. What is life after fighting going to be like? Do I miss the lights? Do I miss cutting to 135? Do I miss, you know, slamming my legs against the pads for 5 rounds, 25 minutes? Am I going to miss that? And it came out. I didn't miss it. So I was like, all right, my decision is good.
At any point in that process between you making that decision and you announcing it, was anything dangled in front of you? One last attempt? Nothing? Nothing that you considered?
They offered me to do a super fight with Mikey Musumeci. They're like, hey, what do you think about doing a grappling match with Mikey? And then we were going back and forth like with the price, and we just couldn't come to terms. And then they're like, how about a super fight with Mikey Musumeci? We'll do 1 round grappling, 1 round mixed martial arts. And I was like, guys, I truly don't care about fighting. You know, I just had an offer, you know, I think it was maybe 3 weeks ago for great money, phenomenal money. And I was like, I just don't care to fight. I truly don't care to fight mixed martial arts anymore. So, yeah, I mean, I'm happy those opportunities came to me because I never forget when I was on the couch and they called me to fight Rodson, and I was like, let's fucking do it. Like let's lace it up. Call Matt, and Matt was like, let's get it. And then when those opportunities presented itself, I was like, no, I don't really care. I'm getting opportunities from jiu-jitsu competitions to go out there and grapple some monsters, but I'm like, I don't care. Like for me, jiu-jitsu is fun. Like I get to go out there and just compete and not worry about trying to get a big paycheck or anything like that, or to press conference and all that stuff. Maybe one day I might get to that point, but right now it's truly fun. Like I'm signing up at this tournament. I pay my $150. I pay my IBJJF, yearly membership, and I show up like a weekend warrior, and I go to work, and then after the tournament's done, I go home back in the lab, and we start cooking. Me and Wanzo, we start cooking. We start cooking.
That offer 3-4 weeks ago, what was that?
I can't. I don't want to discuss it.
Was it MMA? Was it MMA?
It was mixed martial arts.
Outside of one?
Like, I don't. It was outside of one. It was outside of one. But I was like, guys, I'm retired with one. My contract. I have fights left on my contract.
Okay. So you couldn't even do it.
I was like, I couldn't do it. But I'm sure if I truly wanted to do it, I'm sure I could have talked to Chaudhry and the organization. But I just don't care to fight. Like I told him, I was like, that sounds like great money. I told my wife. My wife was like, damn, you sure, baby? And I was like, babe, I don't care to fight. So
more than what you were making at one.
People throw price tags around.
Okay.
But you can't believe the price tag until them zeros hit the bank account.
But in terms of what they were saying, it's actually more?
Yeah, it was more.
Damn.
But at the same time, I don't care to fight. Like, I truly find more enjoyment on talking to people, building the Mighty Cast, the YouTube channel, working on the Mighty brand. We got season 2 dropping. I got some big projects coming up down the line. Like, my goal is, can I make more money from building the YouTube, the Mighty merch, the project coming out in 2025? Can I make more money doing that stuff than fighting? When I do that, that's fucking, you made it. That's fucking dope. Like Connor's made more money from proper number 12 and all the shit he's got going on than he has from fighting. And that's amazing in my book. That's what every athlete should strive for. Like, okay, I've made, $5 million for fighting. Can I make $20 million outside of the cage? That is my goal now.
That's fair. I understand. One last thing. You piqued my, I have to, was it from the UFC, the offer?
No, it was not from the UFC.
All right. I'll leave it at that.
Was not from the UFC.
What was it like? You make the announcement. It's a beautiful speech. You're emotional. And then it's just like everyone is weighing in on you. I can't even imagine. Like you're one of those guys, I'll text you. If a reply isn't coming within 10 minutes, like it seems like something is wrong. I remember you texted me like 36 hours later. I can't imagine what your phone was like and the messages. What is it like when you get all that praise, all that love, all these people reaching out and just showering you with it all? How do you handle that?
Just one day at a time, I guess. I had a lot of great messages from fighters, Izzy, T Wood. I mean, the list just goes on and work. It just goes down. Best friends from high school, just everybody. And I'm always grateful. I've always been very kind to everybody I come across. And for them to show me the same respect and kindness, I'm just grateful. And then obviously I got to you, 36 hours. I apologize, Ariel. I'm sure you wanted to be number one.
No. It just made me think, man, I can't imagine what the text messages are like right now. And for me, like, I get uncomfortable when anyone sends me something sort of quote unquote nice. And so I just wondered if it was weird for you to just see all this love and all this admiration and all this praise being thrown on you.
No, it was cool. It was cool. Like, I don't know how to answer that question, but it was cool. Like I went through every single text message and I responded to every single one of them. And I'm just grateful. And I think it came out of left field, right? Because, I still train every single day. Can I fight? Oh yeah, 1000%. Like I still have it. You never truly lose it. And I think me and not making that announcement, I think it caught people off guard, essentially. So there was people out there. I mean, you kind of knew I was going to retire because you talked behind closed scenes. Chaudhry knew, Matt Hume knew, my wife knew, Michael Wanzover knew, and a couple of my close friends. But the world, the public. Everybody's like, man, which DJ gonna fight again? Man, can we get DJ back in the UFC? Alex Pantoja versus Demetrious Johnson. Da da da. Like, my name is still being talked about, even though I haven't fought in a year. So that always feels good. But I think I caught a lot of people off guard.
You know what was my favorite part about all of that? In the cage when you made the announcement, that was you. And that is the you that those who know you have known for a long time. I remember always saying, like, man, I would talk to you, I would talk to you in Montreal and stuff like that, and talk to you before your fights, and you're dropping F-bombs. And I'm like, why can't we get this DJ in the UFC? Now we get him. Now we know who you are. You show us who you are on your social media, on your YouTube. And the guy in the cage was exactly you. You were dropping, curse words and all that stuff. You were taking the microphone. You were just so comfortable in your skin. And the voice cracking and the crying was just amazing. It was just amazing. It was did you like, were you consciously trying to fight it? Is that why you went so high, or is that always how you sound when you get emotional?
That's how I sound when I get emotional. It doesn't happen very often, My wife doesn't see me cry often. And I didn't think, you always think, oh, I'm gonna prepare a speech and this and that, but I kind of like to raw dog it. I like to just go out there, speak from the heart. And your boy, got a little high pitch. And at the end of the day, I don't regret one thing in my career. When you said, how can we get this type of comfortable Demetrious Johnson in, the octagon? Because I was when it's time for me to fight, I'm a different person. Like, I'm truly a person set on a mission. Like, when me and Matt, we would be strategic. We would come up with these elaborate game plans against the athletes who would fight to defend the title. Like, I was stepping in the cage. I'm like, okay, it's time to fucking go to work. Like, I ain't got time. I was just a different person. Now that I'm not competing and I'm not trying to be the best in the world, I can just be me. Not that I wasn't being me, but I show up and I'm like, all right, it's time to fight. Shake hands. Let's get it.
Incredible. It's really incredible. And what's so, I guess, for me, I will just say it's frustrating because I feel like you get more respect from people now than you did when you were fighting. And that bothers me. That annoys me. Does it not annoy you a little bit?
No, I think, we just dropped that Anthony Pettis podcast on the Mighty Cast. Make sure you guys check it out. And me and him talked about it. Like, I think at the time when I was doing my thing, and even in, one championship, the beautiful knockout when I did Adriano the second time, even when I got knocked out by Adriano, that time period of during COVID was kind of weird. And a lot of people didn't realize I was still fighting over in Asia, but the power of social media and just everything now is just so magnified. So when people look at like the back of my career, they're like, holy shit, like this guy did this and this. He's so creative. He's intelligent. He never really fucks up outside of the cage. He never misses weight. I think people nowadays can appreciate, how I handled my career. And then you look at today's mixed martial arts, you see some guys who just, they're fighting so often. When I won the belt back in 2012, I remember I beat Joseph at UFC 152, Jones versus Vitor Belfort. I beat Joseph, turned around, defended my belt in January, got surgery, shoulder surgery in March. Then I turned around and I fought John Moraga, finished him in, I think it was the fourth round. And then I turned around in December, knocked out Joseph. You're not going to see, it's very rare that you see a champion be so active, right? But in today's market, it's very rare where I did 3 title defenses and had surgery in 1 year, 1 calendar year. So I think people can look back on my career and appreciate that.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I hope that they are taking this time to learn. If they don't know, there's a lot of new fans don't know about you. If you were to tell a new fan, a 2020 fan, a 2022 fan, there's a lot of these new ESPN era fans, nothing wrong with them. We love them, but who weren't watching in 2013 and 2012 when you were bursting onto the flyweight scene. What's the quintessential Demetrious Johnson fight? What's the fight that you would say, okay, watch this one first? Which is the one you're most proud of?
That's hard because every single one of them, something happened. Like, I never forget the first time I was fighting Dotson. Boy, that man, he hit fucking hard. He dropped me so many times, and I remember, digging deep and then pushing through, and then just finding the clinch and just, beating him up. And then, you had the Kyoto Horiguchi. I did not want to be there, sick. Then when I fought Dotson the second time, the Chris Carriazo. I mean, there's all highlights I could take from every single one of my fights. So I can't just pinpoint like watch this one. But I would say watch all of them and just see how I was able to evolve while being a champion. Like you look at champions today, my opinion is, and this is why I'm so grateful for Matt, is that Matt were literally, I would come back and I would destroy. Like when I beat Wilson Hayes, do you think we went back to the gym? Matt was like, "Oh man, that shit, boy, you put his ass in the matrix. You got that armbar." No, Matt didn't do that. Matt was like, "That looked bad. We're gonna work on your grappling," and I would just focus on that that area in mixed martial arts where you see some guys come out and they fight and they look exactly the same. And I get it. Like you're at the top of the food chain and the pinnacle of the sport, but Matt always forced me to change and be crafty and intelligent. And I felt at the very end of my career, that's when I reached kind of perfection. It took me 18 years to get there, but like when I fought Adriano the second time, granted the rounds were close back and forth, but that's what you have to do in order to get to that sweet spot to land that beautiful flying knee. Then the third time I fought him, I was like, okay, we're moving outside. I was like, okay, he's longer than me, so I can't get a 5-piece chicken meal on him. Each time I try to get close to him, he runs away. Okay, so we're just gonna try to beat him up in the clinch. And then I just beat the shit out of him in the clinch for 5 rounds. And then I was like, I feel like I've kind of figured out mixed martial arts. But the context of the thing is that it's very hard to see athletes change and develop their skills at this level of mixed martial arts. Like Valentina Shevchenko is one of them who was a champion that each time she came out, she always impressed me. I'm like, wow, you are a champion and you continue to get better. It reminds me of me when I was a champion. I kept on getting better and being more cerebral and intelligent inside the octagon. And I feel like you don't see that now today.
You know, you said moments ago, no regrets, very happy, you walk away content. And I believe you. I'm just wondering, is there someone you wish you had an opportunity to fight?
I think GSP, even though he's bigger than me, because I think he's also intelligent. John Jones, I would love to fucking fight him, man. He would try to do that. I'm like, nah, like, nah, I would. My clinch, I know my clinch game is way better than his. I'll put money on that.
And by the way, are we talking like flyweight DJ against light heavyweight, like open weight fight, or you wish you were the same weight?
No, God, I wish I was the same weight.
Okay, because I think you can hang open weight.
No. He's too long. Too quick, too cerebral. Like those. I mean, and the only reason I say those is because they're so good and they're very intelligent. And I'd be curious to see, like, for example, when I trained with Aljo, we would move around. And from what I saw when I watched him fight, and I felt Aljo's, when he realized his best asset is his grappling. And then when we grappled, granted, Aljo is way bigger than me. I'm like, Jesus, you are a big body. Even though I fight at 135, I don't cut as much weight as him, but he's still a big body. And I'm like, God damn. So I'm like, okay, that fight would have been very, very hard because you're just bigger and your grappling IQ is so high. So when I call out, not call out, but when I say GSP would have been a great one, John Jones would have been a great one because they're so intelligent and athletic and good that what would happen if I was 205 pounds and me and John Jones were to fight? And I still had all my skill set and he has his skill set. Or if John Jones was a mini version of 125, what would that look like? So it's their brain that I want to fight. I don't really care about their attributes. I want to see what their brain would do in my pressure or my constant changing and transitioning between the aspects of mixed martial arts.
The morning after your announcement, I said the Mount Rushmore of UFC champions is the easiest debate to have in MMA right now. It's a very easy one in my opinion. It's John Jones, it's Anderson Silva, it's George St. Pierre, and it's you. I don't think there's any debate. A couple of people said Jose Aldo. Yes, if there were 5 on Mount Rushmore, yes, he's there, but there's 4 faces. Khabib didn't have the title defenses. I'm talking about people who defended the title multiple times. There's no debate in my mind. Agree or disagree?
I think you got it all wrong. Let me give you the 4.
Wow.
Get ready. There's Dylan, and Dylan.
This has gone over my head. What is that? What is that? What is that?
Oh, fuck. If you know, you know.
Did I just get exposed? What is that? What did you just say? What had just happened there? What language was that?
how you ever see Making the Band with Dave Chappelle when he was like,
I'm trying to get deep on you here, DJ. I'm trying to
I'm
connect. You're
sorry.
hitting me with Dylon jokes. What is this? What?
I'm sorry. I hit everywhere with that joke. I think when you put in that aspect of guys who no worries, no worries, no worries, no worries. But let's get back on track. So when
I was like, did you just
look
short circuit? What happened?
no, one of your producers in the back jumped in my ear, and then I was like, "Who the hell is this guy? This isn't Ariel."
Okay.
And he said, "Sorry." So that's what happened.
No problem.
Don't think CTE concussions are coming up, gentlemen. I didn't get hit much in my career. Look it up. But let's get back to the Mount Rushmore. So when you put in that aspect of guys who had many title defenses, successful title defenses, who finished their opponents during those title defenses, I think that Mount Rushmore is fair to say. Like, I was looking at one of my things and it says, out of my 11 consecutive title defenses, I had 7 finishes. That's fucking crazy. Like, I didn't even realize that until somebody was doing all the numbers for me. So I think GSP, he was very good, was always creative, super athletic. You have John Jones. John Jones, the only loss he's had is Hamill, and that was a DQ. But other than that, I always felt John Jones could finish anybody whenever he fought them. And then the other person, myself, and then you had Anderson Silva. Anderson, I think a lot of people don't put Anderson on there because he stayed maybe too long at the party. Because at the end of his career, he started taking loss. He lost to Izzy, he lost to, a couple of guys. But if you look at that time when he was fighting Stephan Bonner, Forrest Griffin, Chris Lieben, even before he became the champion, I mean, he was doing magnificent stuff inside the octagon.
By the way, was that something you were conscious of? I don't want to be one of those guys. Unfortunately, there have been, who sticks around too long and has 5 straight losses and all this stuff. Like, have you seen those guys when you were fighting and said, I don't want that to happen?
No, I've seen the guys who end up quitting, they end up broke. That's when I said I don't want to be one of those guys. I think everybody, mixed martial arts is a very interesting sport. And I think everybody remembers your last fight. And, I can't say that somebody has stuck. In my opinion, I think some athletes stick around too long. And then as a person and as an athlete for myself, I think to myself, why are they still fighting? What is motivating them to still fight? Do they enjoy fighting? Do they need the money? What is the motivating factor for somebody to fight when they're on a downtrend or whatever it may be? So I like to, put those questions in my mind. But the only person who can answer that is that athlete, right? Like if I was to ask Anderson Silva, like, hey, why'd you, keep on fighting when you've made millions and millions of dollars? You're late 30s, going to your early 40s. Why are you still fighting? And only person who can answer that is himself. Same thing with Chael Sonnen. Like him and Anderson Silva had a boxing match. Why'd you guys do it? They might say, why the fuck not? I'm like, you're absolutely right. Good luck, right? So it's only for them to answer that. But for me, I felt there was nothing else to prove. I wasn't having fun anymore. And I was relying on my body to make money. And so I was like, okay, well, let's change our mindset. And let's start focusing on using my brain to make money, because I can do this. I can have the podcast. I can have the YouTube till I'm 75 years old. I don't plan on, I wouldn't want to fight till I'm 45 because your body breaks down. I've never taken drugs in my life. I don't want to start taking drugs. And it's just a natural progression of an athlete. You're going to get slower. You're going to start having injuries. So why not go out on top as a champion and healthy? That sounds amazing to me.
What is your reaction when you see these testimonials from fighters in these, in this class action lawsuit, and you see the state of their lives and their health compared to yours?
I'm gonna keep it 1,000% real. One, I don't know what those guys did with their money. I have no idea. I'm sure that Kung Lee and who else is on there? Shane Carwin. I think a lot of athletes. I feel comfortable saying that Shane Carwin and Kung Lee probably made more money than I did in the UFC. I could be wrong.
You think so?
But, well, I mean, I'm sure I just feel Vanderlei Silva, I know he did. I mean, I just feel, from me, I feel like they probably did. Right? I never got pay-per-view points, only one time. I feel like those guys were put in a position where they could have got maybe, a $2-3 million paycheck. I don't know. This is just how I feel. So when I hear that, and I could be absolutely wrong, but this is my opinion when I read that, my first thing comes to mind is, okay, what did you guys do with your money when you made it, right? When I fought, Matt Hume was absolutely amazing. He says, you're going to invest your money. You're going to save your money. That's what you're going to do. Granted, I'm 38 now. I'm 38 I'm hoping I live to 95, but from 38 to 95, that is a long span of years that I have to, make the money stretch, whatever it may be. So my first thing is like, okay, what did you guys do with your money? How much did you make? Were you investing it? As athletes, we don't have health care. Were you putting the money away from a rainy day? Like, those are the first thing that come to my mind. Yes, it breaks my heart to hear these guys they're struggling to do, everyday functional things, necessities, having a hard time, writing a book or whatever it may be, or do the things they need to do to get by. Like, it breaks my heart. But at the same time, I look at it, it's just like an NFL player. This isn't the first athletes that have gone through this, right? NFL players, they make all this money. They're not like, I'm fucking broke. I brought mom a car, got all this jewelry, got this, Rashard Millie. It's happened in football. I don't think it's ever happened in baseball. Them motherfuckers get big ass contracts. I'm sure it has happened in soccer. They get big ass contracts. But besides the point, my first thing that comes to mind is like, okay, one, what did you do with your money? And two, how much money you made? I felt comfortable when I saw the guys on the list, like Vanderlei Silva, Kung Lee, those guys. I feel like they made more money in their UFC career than I did. The CPA or the person who runs all the financing in mixed martial in the UFC, Zuffa, they can come back and tell the numbers they paid those guys compared to mine. But yeah, it breaks my heart. And hey, I'll tell you right now, like I tell my boys, I can't wait to get my check. I don't know what I'm gonna buy. What should I buy, Ariel? What should I buy?
How much is it? Do you know? Do you know?
I don't know, man. I can't wait to get it. I tell you that though, when I get it, I'm like, see. And here's the thing: when I get it, I'm going to invest the money, and then I'm going to put that money to work.
Yeah.
For me, I'm not. I might go out and buy a new watch. Happy Jewelers. You might be waiting for my call. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with the money, but when it comes, I'm going to be smart and strategic with it. I'm not going to blow it. Yeah. And I hope all the other fighters from that class lawsuit do the same thing.
By the way, what's that one fight that you got pay-per-view points for?
Henry Cejudo.
First or second?
Second.
Okay. The one in LA.
Yes, sir.
Ironically, the last one, the one that you lost.
Yes, sir.
Weird. And I know you chose not to, but like, why was that one different?
All right. I'm not gonna go down this fucking road again. I've done it many times.
You've done it. If you've done it.
No. I mean, what was different? Because there was a point in time in a contract when Hunter Campbell came in there, and then we go back and forth. Then he says I don't want pay-per-view points. And guys, think about this. How many times? I'm not even gonna go out there. Okay. So in my UFC career, when I first became the champion back in UFC 152, 2012, I was still on my old contract. The contract when I fought Ian McCall. When I became the champion, I got no new contract. I fought, what's his name? John Dotson, John Moraga, and Joseph Benavidez. By that time, I believe I was done with the contract. I maybe had 1 or 2 fights left. And I said, me and Matt was like, hey, I'll have to go back and look at the numbers. I might have been at like 40-40 or I don't know. Somebody can look it up. But then I remember when I fought, after I knocked out Joseph Benavidez, got the bonus, and then it was time for me to renew my contract. And I remember I said, I want pay-per-view points. And they said, we do not give him to flyweights. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the flyweight infancy stage was from 2012, and I got a new contract in 2013. So there was they said, we don't give him the flyweights. I said, okay. So they gave me 125 to show, 50,000 to win. Okay. I go through that whole entire contract. You have Kyoji, Chris Carriasso, Henry Cejudo, list just goes on. Then it came to the point where it's like, hey, you're up for a new contract. What do you want? I said, I want pay-per-view points. And I'm like, well, if you take pay-per-view points, you're not going to get, the 350. I'm like, Tyron Woodley just became a champion. He's getting 500,000 plus pay-per-view points. Don't play this fucking bullshit with me because I just talked to the motherfucker. So I'm on like 7 or 8 title defenses, and I'm asking for, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, what do you want? And I'm like, well, I can't dictate what card I'm going to be on. You guys dictate that. So I'm going to go with the 350 and these guys are getting, so then we had some shit came out. Hunter Campbell came in there. We had dinner, and then he looked at it and he goes, okay, we'll give you, and then I would get capped out at 400,000. And then when it came to the Henry Cejudo fight, I think it was at 380 because I went up every $10,000 escalator. They said, okay, we'll give you one pay-per-view point opportunity in your contract. And that's when I fight Henry Cejudo, and that's why I landed on that. So that's like kind of, so it was up. It was shout out to Hunter Campbell for giving me that opportunity, but don't fucking listen to when they're like, oh, he did what, motherfucker. If I could dictate what card I want to be on and say, okay, when is this guy fight? Okay, this is gonna be stack card. Okay, yeah, absolutely. But when the athletes don't have the opportunity to pick and choose, at least back in my day, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that, you guys, she said, he said, but if you look at my track record, I think I'm pretty spot on. When I speak by and I speak truth.
Yeah. Okay. Now I get the reference. By the way, a lot of people have supported you. You know this. I'd like to think that we supported you here, and a lot of fans and a lot of fellow fighters. But you do have to admit, no one supported you more than Dana White. I mean, you would say. Well,
shout out to MMA Guru. He's been amazing. I know a lot of people in the media and all that stuff. They don't really like.
That's my boy. That's my biggest fan.
He is your biggest fan, right? But that's one thing I love.
He's going to do a 45-minute video just on this 10-second interaction, just for the record. He's going to do a 45-minute breakdown. I love him too.
You know what? Yeah, he might. But let's get back to the question. Here's the thing, me, Dana, I have nothing against Dana White. My career was absolutely amazing. He gave me an opportunity to fight on one of the biggest organizations in North America. I made my name there. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope, the company keeps doing well and I keep killing it, right? But, he did support me, but, he did shit on me a couple times. And who hasn't Dana White shit on? He shit on John. He shit on everybody. I'm sure MMA Guru can do a video, and he would take the time to look at every interview that Dana White's done, and to see how many times he shit on his champions.
I was gonna say he hasn't shit on me.
Well, you're not a champion. That's he has shit on you before.
Yes, of course he has shit on me.
He has. But like I said, he's got to lay his head. He's got to lay his head down at a pillow at night. I sleep good. I'm sure he sleeps good. He's wealthy. His family's healthy. He's got a happy life. He's successful. And I have no ill will whatsoever from Dana White. I just look back at my career and I just love, when he was like, oh, I didn't know he had an amazing career. Absolutely, he'd be inducted to Hall of Fame. Hey, you look at me. I defended Demetrious Johnson more than anybody.
Yeah.
I'm not too thrilled with Demetrious Johnson. He didn't want pay-per-view. Like I said, I wish, the only thing I do regret, I wish that I could have recorded every single conversation I had with them. That way, it's like, guys, but I think that might be against the law, invaded privacy or the negotiation tactics. But that's the only thing I regret is that if everybody in mixed martial arts, in the UFC, wherever, if you can okay, we're going live, we're going to record this conversation. That way, everybody, we have receipts. All right, go. Woo!
I'd love that too. I'd love that too. By the way, if you don't get inducted into the Hall of Fame next July, are we allowed to riot? It has to happen, right?
Y'all can do whatever the fuck y'all want. I mean, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I believe that what I've done in my career in mixed martial arts, I guess, is spectacular.
Yes,
and
I would say so.
We'll see what happens.
I would say true or false. True or false. In your lifetime, there'll be a fighters union.
No, I don't think there will be.
Why not?
I think because you'll always find somebody who will fight for less. And the brand is too big. I learned this a long time ago. At one point in time, one of my coaches, he pointed this out to me, and kind of realize that. You look at, there's a couple big stars in the UFC or any organization, but when you see somebody, they're like, oh man, look at that UFC fighter. Look at that UFC fighter. They don't say, oh, look at Demetrious Johnson or look at Max Holloway or look at Ilia Topuria. Obviously, they probably do that, but the brand is so big, they can throw, two guys on there and people are still going to tune in because it's the UFC. And there's always going to be someone who's going to fight for cheaper. The only way a union's ever going to happen is when you see all of the bigger stars come together and band together and say, guys, we're not fighting. Like, you guys stop fighting. Stop. Can it happen? Absolutely. It's happened in Hollywood. It just happened in, the longshoremen. Because guess what? Them fucking containers, somebody's got to empty those containers. And you know who's not going to do it? The fucking people who, run the contracts. So I'm pretty sure the UFC has a certain amount of fights they have to give to ESPN. And if all the fighters say, guys, we're not fucking fighting, like, stop fighting. But here's the thing. We don't make big enough. They don't. I'm not in a boat anymore. They don't make big enough contracts where they can be like, guys, we're not fighting for 2 to 3 years. There's going to be fighters out there, guys, I'm making 10 and 10. Like, I got a wife, I got kids, I got medical expenses, I got a mortgage. They can't do that. But NBA stars, they can do that because their contracts are like 20, 30, 40 million dollars. If the whole team, if the whole mixed martial arts roster was making 20 million, if everybody had like, I don't know, $2 million in the bank, they can take some years off to be able to negotiate a contract. But they don't want to do that because the UFC has a contract with ESPN that they need to fulfill those contracts. If they don't, then they're in, liability. They're a breach of contract. So in my lifetime, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't honestly think it will ever happen just because that motion, like we don't make it. The fighters don't make enough money. Like, and we're designed to hate each other and, we're fighting each other and he got this contract and da 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 da. It's just too much of this for the fighters. Like, we always want what the other person has.
Why do you think now more than ever the gap between the UFC and the competition seems bigger than ever?
Competition as in like
the other promotions.
I think because the UFC has spent so many years building and it's a marketing machine. I mean, you look at the social media, you look at what ESPN's been able to do, and I think Anthony Pettis said it best. You have Saturday nights is the big pay-per-view every, once a month. And then you have Dana White's Contender Series. Then you also have the UFC Fight Nights. And then you also have, the branding of the UFC gyms around the world. Then you also, it's just, they're everywhere you look. If Sugar Sean O'Malley just fights and he knocks out somebody, he's on, the Pat McAfee show. You also got the Ariel Helwani show that is promoting all the fighters who fight underneath that brand. So I think when you look at it and you look, you take a step back and you look at it, it's okay, why? You have the PFL going on. You have Francis who's coming back to mixed martial arts. You have the PFL. You have One Championship, which they're killing it over in Asia. The Denver event sold out. I still think, second or right behind it is One Championship because they have a different product than the UFC. They have mixed martial arts, Muay Thai, kickboxing, grappling. And I just think the UFC is just at a point where they have the biggest stars in North America. And they're also getting big stars from Asia for people who actually follow the sport on a deep level. They just got Kai Asakura, who's going to be taking on Alex Pantoja. If you guys don't know who Kai Asakura is, he's a nasty stand-up artist. He has losses. Manel Kopp has knocked him out. Kyoji Horiguchi has knocked him out. But they're bringing this guy over to, that's a big. He was the champion in Ryzen, and he vacated his belt to come to the UFC. When you have athletes doing that, now everybody who followed Kai Asakura in Ryzen, they're gonna follow his ass over to the UFC, and then now they get the viewership from Japan. So, like, there's a whole. It's a marketing machine.
Just a couple more left, and then I'll let you go. This has been amazing. I could talk to you for hours.
You good, babe.
You're the man.
Let me get a sip of my protein shake. Shot the first form. Try to keep these calories up. Okay.
Okay. I'll ask while you drink. I love when you break things down and you get excited. Can you put your analyst hat on for a moment? the big return of Francis Ngannou this Saturday, Renan Ferreira, the Battle of the Giants, as they're calling it. By the way, Helwani Vision on DAZN pay-per-view. If you're watching at home, do check it out. And shout out to Bibiano Fernandez, by the way, who I understand is opening up a gym and having a seminar, which you will be a part of this Saturday as well. So shout out to another legend of the game. You think Francis gets it done, or is there any concern the layoff, switching your style and training, boxing back to MMA didn't work out very well for Conor? Obviously getting knocked out in his last fight, that can change you as a human being and as a person. Do you think he stumbles against the lesser known Renan Ferreira?
First, man, it's very hard. The biggest thing for Francis is he's very powerful. He can wrestle. He does have submission victories. He is fighting against a bigger gentleman, but that's never stopped him. Yes, he did get knocked out by Anthony Joshua, and I did believe Anthony Joshua could beat him in mixed martial arts.
Yes.
That's when I said that, for full disclosure, when I'm sitting there and I'm watching the fight and I saw how Anthony Joshua was able to make those reads in boxing, why can't he make that same read in mixed martial arts? It's the same shit. The only thing that changes is you got 4-ounce gloves. Yes, Francis can kick. Yes, Francis can wrestle. But if you give a guy who's athletic like Anthony Joshua the opportunity to work with a guy like Faraz Sahabi or Craig Jackson or myself, but it's okay, we're going to fucking... He throws a kick, you check. Bring your motherfucking leg up and check it, okay? Keep that same distance, control the void, and wait him to cross the void and land the right hand. I don't see why that doesn't transfer very well. But after seeing Anthony Joshua get worked and knocked out from the last guy, shit happens. Not everything I say is a big W. I take L's all the time. But I think Francis, it's going to be a hard fight, because I think Francis switching back over to mixed martial arts, yes, he's going to have that knockout power, but how he's going to deal with the distance of trying to get to his opponent, get himself to the right positioning where he can start landing those shots. Yes, he has his leg kicks, but he hasn't competed. But I'm never going to count Francis out when it comes, because I don't know too much about his opponent. I know he's good. I know he's athletic. I know he's big, but I just don't feel comfortable making a pick. But it's part of my job now. I'm gonna have to go with Francis on that one. But I just don't know. He hasn't been as active as I would like him have been in mixed martial arts.
Fair, very fair. I can't wait to see how it unfolds. By the way, on our YouTube chat right now, we have a poll. 41% of the fans say that you are in their top 3 pound for pound all time, and 18% have you as number 1. So let's go. Let's hear yours. Top 3.
Of what? Pound for pound?
All time. Greatest of all time. Top 3.
Dylan.
You're doing it again. You're doing it again.
Top 3. So for me, it comes down, I don't care about John Jones, obviously, because everything I've been in a room with him and I've seen his mind work. I'll definitely say, Habib is good. Habib is really fucking good. Like he knows what he does, and he does it so well. I would love to see him do more in the championship run, but obviously he just didn't. Oh, man. Habib. God damn it. And then I'll have to say split third between GSP and Anderson. Like those guys, like when I look at Habib, like even though he wasn't as crisp on the feet and like his rhythm wasn't like how I would have liked it to have been, like he would, like what he did to Michael Johnson, what he did to Conor, what he did to all, dude, like, yeah.
You're not in there.
Is
Come on.
Oh, I don't put myself in there. I don't need to do that. You guys can do that.
So you're not putting yourself in there not because you don't think you belong. It's just because you don't feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah, I don't feel comfortable doing it. Like, I don't need to. Have another athlete put me in there. But I think for those 3, I think those guys, those 4, those guys were like, they did something very special, which we probably won't see it. We have new guys coming up. Ilia Topuria, you have Alex Pereira. You have guys who are really on fire right now that, can leave a long-lasting legacy in their careers.
You're a black belt when it comes to martial arts, in my opinion, all forms of martial arts. And your preparation, your planning is the highest of levels. And I love when I see incredible athletes then become media members, and in particular, when they become interviewers, because you are so used to being on the other side of the questions. And there's a certain like ego that comes with that, and self-centeredness, if you understand what I'm saying. And now you have to completely change the way you view conversations, because you're the one who has to keep the conversation going and asking questions. I think one of the best athletes to ever make that transition is Stone Cold Steve Austin, believe it or not. I used to love his podcast because you could tell his preparation was incredible. His follow-ups were great. His questions were great. His research was great. And it was a joy. Unfortunately, he doesn't do it anymore. And I'm putting you in that category now. Your questions, your preparation, your conversation, I'm not just saying it, I just wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it. And so I'm just curious about your process. It doesn't seem like you have questions in front of you. It is clear that you are preparing, that you are doing the research, you're getting up to speed. So what, like, you have Pettis or Ferguson or Robert Whitaker or Izzy coming up on Thursday. What are you doing to prepare for that conversation? I'm actually fascinated.
Nothing, to be honest with you.
Wow.
The reason why is because I want to hear the story. Like, for me, I've always been a good listener. I've heard that from my wife. I've heard that from my mother-in-law. And I truly want to know their story from their mouth. So, I just had Bo Nickel on. Amazing story, to hear his career through wrestling, and then to hear him and his father still have an amazing relationship. And his father coached him, and that's kind of like the journey I'm on right now with my son. And I want to make sure I still have a great relationship with my son if he is successful in jiu-jitsu at the highest level, or if he doesn't, right? And so I kind of, love that aspect of the conversation me and Bo Nickel had. We just had Max Holloway on, which will be dropping next week because he's about to fight Ilia Topuria. Like, I love talking to Max. We've hung out before. He's another athlete who's very intelligent as well, how he, moves in his thought process. So I just like to talk to the athletes or the guests as the questions I want to know about them, essentially, right? Like, I would love to have like Michael Chandler as a person I have on. I want to have Tom Aspin on. I would love to have Conor McGregor on. I'm like, Conor, you're like, do you do cocaine, Conor? Like, it's okay if you do. Like, if Conor was like, mate, I love to do a little line here and there to get the juices rolling. Like, why is that a bad question to ask him? Like, I would love to have Gordon Ryan on or Craig Jones just to talk about the steroids. Like, there was a point in time before you put that needle or you took steroids. Like, what was going through your mind? Like, do you think you'd be just as good if you didn't take? Like, I have no problem asking those questions because I'm genuinely curious. Like, what's your thought process? Even when I had Mike Michi on, like, I was like, dude, if I were you, I'll be hunting all these motherfuckers. I don't care how, like, why. I just feel when I ask these questions, it's coming from an honest place. I'm not looking for sound bites. I want to know. Like, I truly want to know. Like, Donald Cerrone, I just reached out to him. He wants to come back to fighting. Now, Donald Cerrone retired. Now he's come back to fighting. He was on TRT. He was open about taking testosterone. He goes, I feel so much better. Now, from my research and from my understanding, what I hear from other people around the world is that when you jump on TRT, when you get off it, your body hasn't been producing that testosterone. So that's a question I want to ask him. Like, what's that journey going to be like? That's a valid question. Ask somebody who's been a fighter. He's been open about TRT use, and now he wants to come back and fight. Is he going to get an exemption, or what did you want to know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. No, this is great.
So that's how I approach my interviews. Is like, I follow these guys' careers. Before I have a guest on, I don't sit there and like, okay, he won this. I want the viewers to hear from their mouth, and I want their reaction to be just like mine. And that's why I love doing the podcast. It's like, I love to know these guys' stories. I talked to Anthony Pettis, hear about his journey and how he was always trying to be the businessman. He was always in Dana White's office, how he got on the Wheaties box. If you guys haven't heard that interview, do yourself a favor, go to the Mighty Gaming channel, the Mighty Cast channel, and subscribe. Listen to that one. But I just love doing it, and I just love the raw dog it, man.
By the way, you mentioned your kids. You have 2 boys and a girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Incredibly cute kids, by the way. Well done to both you and your wife.
Thank you.
Do you think any of them are going to become fighters like you? Not do you want them? Do you think they will be?
Mm. If one of them, God, the oldest and the middle have the traits that could be a successful fighter. One, my oldest, he works hard and he understands, like, he's very good at jiu-jitsu. Um, he could. And then my middle one, his technique and his mindset is so good, but he just doesn't care. But sometimes that makes the best athlete because I didn't care. It was something fun I did. But I'm not going to push them. I don't want them to be fighters. I just want them to be good people, good human beings, and enjoy their life.
Okay, here's the last one, and it's the most important one, and you're not going to be able to sit on the fence, all right? And it's a simple question. Who won the motherfucking trade? Now, once and for all, who won the motherfucking trade? Did the UFC win by acquiring Ben Askren, or did one win by acquiring you? Say it. Say it once. Say it for all. Who won the motherfucking trade? Go ahead.
I mean, it's no doubt. I mean, you look at your boy. I was a fucking working horse, the best in the world. You know, probably pound for pound. If you didn't count John Jones for skipping me, and then I think Ben Askren was out. He was retired. To me, Ben Askren, we had him on the MightyCast. I'll drop soon, and we talked about it. But I think when you look at like just money wise, I think the UFC won because of how much more money they were able to generate and, quote unquote, from Dana White and those guys, I wasn't making them any money. But I think the sheer of just the fucking horse that one championship got, I mean, if I wanted to today, I could still fight. I don't think Ben Askren could still fight. I could still fight if I truly wanted to. He can't. And you look at the fights I was able to produce, the knockouts, the buzz that I was able to produce for one championship. I mean, it's easy, clear that they got the better athlete, the better fighter. But when it comes down to the money aspect of it, they probably won. But it's, what are you looking for? Are you looking to generate more money, or are you looking to have the best athletes in the world? You want to have the best athletes in the world? They got my black ass.
I love it, man. I love you as well. You're the freaking man. What a joy. When people ask me my favorites ever to cover, you're at the very, very, very top of the list. I feel like I'm constantly showering you with praise and love as well. And so I'll just say thank you for coming on. You're killing it now. I'm such a huge fan of what you and Once Over are doing. And I'm always there to support or help in any type of way. And thank you for doing the same for me throughout the career. I'll never forget Los Angeles, us in the hallway. Ramundi saying, why don't you come on the Fakakta version of the MMA? And you said, because that's my guy. Remember that in the hallway? He said, because and I was like, fuck, man. In a moment where I was feeling like I was lost, that meant the world. The flyweight champ saying that in that moment in the hallway, I'll never forget it, how it made me feel. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Always here for you. Congratulations on an incredible Hall of Fame career. I feel confident in saying, unlike some other guys that we've heard come back after retiring, you're not doing that. And God bless you for it. Keep up the great work. Much love and respect.
Thank you, Ariel. Appreciate you. Hey, just because I'm done fighting doesn't mean you can't cover me in my jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
I'm in the lab right now trying to work some new stuff, and I appreciate you. Anytime you need me, you got my number. Just dial me, dog.
Thank you so much, DJ. Talk to you soon. There he is, the great Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson. What a legend. What a guy. What a chat.